All right. Welcome in and thanks for joining. I apologize that this is being recorded from my truck, but with a family and a full time job, we got to fit things in when I can. And I think this is important. So I'm recording from soccer practice here in my truck. And I'm certain that the message and the content are more important than where it's being filmed. So thank you for understanding. So I'll jump right into it. This is the briefing update for September 2025. First, we start with the excavation or ordinance. Um, and this is, we've talked about this several times, but this is related to right of way work. And the problem that we're having is we had contractors coming in, boring and digging in the right of way for any number of utility companies. I won't name any because there's many that have the right to dig there. But the problem is, months or years down the road, we find a problem. Maybe they hit a sewer line or somebody else's optic line or something, and it's very difficult to go back and sort out who was digging, and then more importantly, who were they digging for? Because company A, whose line it is, doesn't do the digging. Typically, that's subcontracted out, and so we got to sort that out. And I dealt with an issue in Moss Bluff recently where we were convinced that our sewer line was the problem. And after many attempts to get things fixed and cost us a lot of money in digging and replacing things, it was actually a boring machine that had gone through a sewer line. So um, this would require people who are digging or boring to come in, get a permit, tell us who they're digging for, where they're digging, so that if there's a problem, we know who it is. This isn't a tax or a money making solution to anything. It's simply a record keeping, and I think it's a good ordinance. So I'm in favor of this one. Next is the drainage ordinance. We've talked about it almost ad nauseum at this point, and so I won't belabor it. But this is in regard to allowing water um, to, in the design of a neighborhood, for the water to come up to the center line. And it also deals with the spacing of the gutters. This does not, and some of the language was edited, but this does not change the amount of retention or detention that is required. This just says that instead of half of a lane being able to be used for water, a full lane can be used. If you've driven on roads, the water coming up to the center line of a road does not make it impassable. The road is still passable. It will hold. It will not hold water, but the water can be used to go into the road before it is then put in the retention pond and then let out into the public drainage. There was a lot of talk about this. Again, I'm going to try not to belabor it. I think it's important, but we've talked about it before. Next is litter ordinance, and really kudos to Councilwoman Danielle Caprito. Really proud of the work she's done. Um, I don't know if litter queen is the right term for somebody, but she has really spearheaded trash and litter, and she's very passionate about it. She's got a $10,000 grant that was just announced that she had applied for and worked for and got. That'll be used for various things, a trash trailer, some supplies, and so really great there, some signage. But this revamps our litter ordinance, makes some changes for gross litter, which are things like sofas and refrigerators and large items. And then it does some tweaking to the smaller items as well. Some new cameras, crime fighting cameras, or what I believe they're calling litter cameras, were put up. And within 3 days, they had several people that violated the litter ordinance, and that's currently in effect, and were ticketed. And so, it's really a shame. We've talked about it. We have a full time city employee, 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year. His only job is to go around and pick up litter. And every time I see his vehicle, it is full of trash. He rides around, he's got routes, and he goes to the problem areas frequently and picks up trash. And it's really a shame that we have to pay somebody to do that. In addition, just so you know, I hope none of you are these people, but if you are putting signs out in the right of way, whether that's on a telephone post, whether it's a sign in the ground in the right of way, those are illegal. They are an eyesore. And in this, we now have the ability to use the phone numbers on those signs and go out and ticket you. Now, I'm sure the people that do enforcement here are going to be very reasonable and give you an opportunity. But certainly those signs will be picked up. And if we see repeat offenders, we will have the ability to ticket those people. So again, kudos to Danielle Caprito. Excellent work as always. We are moving forward and taking a stand against litter. Ditch ditch clearing requests in neighborhoods probably was the biggest item on the agenda, biggest item in my opinion. We've talked about it before. I'm going to give a brief history. Just before I got on the council, some neighborhoods were dug in the downtown Carencro area, and it caused an uproar. The residents were very, very upset. And there were several reasons. I think the first thing that should be said is that the city of Carencro has not only the right to dig ditches, but we have a duty to dig them to ensure drainage, flow of water, prevention of flooding. At that time, but just before I got on the council passed an ordinance that said that if ditch digging was going to be done in a neighborhood, a public notice had to go out to those neighbors, and there needed to be a public hearing where the council would decide if it was needed or not. I very much understand the point of that, and I think it was very brave, and it showed great leadership of the council, because rather than putting things off on the mayor and saying, you can deal with it, you can, when there's problems, you can take the brunt of it, the council was saying, no, we're going to take responsibility. Come to us, we will decide yes or no, and then we will take the responsibility of if we don't, whatever happens, and if we do, whatever happens. So I'll tell you my stance on ditch digging. Very, very simple. The ditches have to be dug. But there's a few major caveats and problems that come with ditch digging. First and foremost, going out with an excavator and digging a ditch does not solve all the problems, and sometimes it creates problems. Just had a family member in the city of Carencro recently had a ditch dug, and they were so excited. This is beautiful. It's great. The ditch is sloped and it's perfect. Well, right after the first rain, they realized, oh, the culvert is silted all the way up. So now I have a perfectly dug ditch that's sitting full of water. So that's problem number one. We go out and dig the ditches, but then there are going to be culverts that are going to need to be blown out. That can happen, but that is a different project that takes time and money. Another problem, and what's the single biggest problem to me, is over time, culverts were put in by residents or replaced without coming to City Hall. We have ordinances about it, but we all know not everybody follows that. And so you have culverts that are way too high, way too low, sloped incorrectly, sloped the wrong direction, all sorts of crazy things. And so sure, we go out and dig the ditch, but if we just dig it from culvert to culvert, that might not even be the right direction that it's supposed to flow. So now you have a ditch just sitting full of water, which is dangerous for kids. Snakes get in it, mosquitoes. Now you have a big problem. So what do you do there? Do you go and change the culvert out? We just recently changed a culvert on a project that I had worked a little bit on. That was a $15,000 job to get the culvert out. Actually, we didn't even change the culvert. We had to tear up all the driveway and replace that. So can you imagine $15,000 times however many culverts we'd have to replace? And then we have to replace it the same day, or else how can people get to their house? So we have to get it out in the morning, put the ditch to grade, get the culverts in, pour the concrete, let it dry so the people can come home. It is a nightmare. So our engineers and Brian Bro with the city have some solutions, and it's essentially just to dig to grade, meaning figure out what's the best grade that ditch should be and dig it to that. That may mean some people have some dirt that's built up over their culvert or whatever the case is, or we'll have to dig a small hole at the culvert, in which case water will sit. My point is this. I understand we have to dig the ditches. I'm in favor. There is no perfect solution in a town of our age, in the subdivisions with the ages we have, in the older subdivisions. In the newer subdivisions, as those houses are built, we are inspecting them in real time. Now, there could be some settling and minor issues, but nothing like we see in the older neighborhoods. So the plan is we're going to start on Sis Lane. The survey crews are going to go out and see where we're at on the culverts. We're going to have a public hearing for those residents to come out. Let me tell you another problem that happens. People love that their ditches are silted in a bit, and now they can ride their riding lawnmower through them. Once we dig, you're going to have a big open ditch in your front yard, and it drives people crazy. So there are people passionate about ditch digging, for and against, and I understand that. And I understand that if we don't maintain the ditches, it increases our risk of flooding into homes. But um, it is not without risk. It is not without caveats. And so I am very cautious. I want everybody to understand before we start what we're getting into. And if everybody's on the same page, then I'm okay to proceed. So ditch digging is a big deal. Next is we talked about the Veterans Affairs Commission of Carencro. Mr. Lynn Guidry, for many, many years, headed up this group, somewhat informal group that hosted the Veterans Day celebration. He has decided to take a step back from that and turn it over. Mr. Kevin Bro is going to take that over. So this group will be formed. And they will meet on a regular basis and they will plan the Veterans Day celebration. We'll have more information forthcoming. I did ask the question about whether the council needs to appoint people to that commission. I'm not opposed to it, but I don't want a Veterans Commission that becomes political. I don't want it to be the friends of the elected officials, whether now or in 10 years. So I'm a little hesitant about allowing somebody in the city government to make the appointments. I would prefer if they were self-sufficient and elected members amongst themselves. I'm certainly happy to provide resources, meaning if they need to meet in the council chamber, if there are some cultural district type dollars that they need, some small amount to help get the Veterans Day project going. I'm all in favor, full support. But I don't want to mix what I consider a really, really good thing in a veterans group and a Veterans Day celebration with politics. My mind could be swayed on this, but that's currently where my mind is. So more to come. Backflow preventers. I think this is a great thing. Maybe not backflow preventers, but what we're talking about doing. The mayor approached me with this idea sometime back. It's a great idea. So if you're not familiar, backflow preventers ensure during times of low water pressure that water that has gone essentially past the meter into typically a commercial building, but could be a house, it ensures it does not flow backwards into our system, contaminating the water supply. That's when you get boil water advisories. As it stands now, the state of Louisiana requires us to turn in a certificate, a very specific piece of paper, every year on every backflow preventer that says it has been inspected by a licensed plumber. So currently what happens is some businesses and residents that have it do a very good job of keeping up with it and turning their paperwork in. But the majority require us to send a letter out. So somebody from planning has to keep an ongoing list, and everybody's expires at different times a year. So we have to find out who's due and who's past due, send a certified letter, send a second letter, do all these things. It's very time consuming and expensive. My understanding is what other municipalities have done is they have contracted a plumber who will oversee or who will do them all. And because they're doing them in bulk, we typically will get a better rate than the individual will get doing it one off. We will add it to their water bill for those people who have a backflow preventer. So they don't have to worry about making extra payments or any of those things. We don't have to worry about chasing people down or the paperwork. It is done. Now, what the mayor gave us is a preliminary draft, or it's Broussard's ordinance. It is huge. I hate huge ordinances. We don't need to use 10,000 words when 100 will do. Plain English is fine. So I'm going to go through it and make sure there's nothing else in there. But the concept I certainly agree with. We're not trying to make anybody else get a backflow preventer. We are not attempting to expand the amount of people who need them, any of that. We're trying to consolidate the inspection of the backflow preventers to one plumber, which I'm sure will be bidded out or we will get quotes on. And then everybody will be on the same page. So I think this is a great thing. We had Triple Crown Circle, Mr. Dennis Landtrip on the agenda to come speak. He didn't come, but we still took up his issue. And his issue is essentially speeding on Triple Crown. Because that's a relatively small neighborhood, I'm not going to go into all the details, but we've done essentially 2 traffic analysis, and we will do a third. And then, depending on those results, I'm hoping Chief David Anderson will make a recommendation on whether or not we need to decrease the speed limit on that road. The safety of the kids is paramount, but we also have to consider the other residents and the normal flow of the community. So, sure, we could put every road at 5 miles an hour, but that's obviously not what's in the best interest of the city. So, finding what is safest for those kids, what is best for the flow of traffic, and we'll go from there. So, more to come on that. We heard from Ms. Claire Richard on the community rating system. Good news there. That is what affects your flood insurance. We were previously a 7. We have kept that rating, and actually our points have gone up a bit. That means if you have flood insurance, you will get a 15% discount. If you're in a flood zone and have flood insurance, you will get a 15% discount. If you are not in a flood zone and have flood insurance, you will get a 5% discount. I did ask some questions on what it would take to get us to the next higher level. It would take a little bit, but I believe that the mayor's on board to try to get us there. There's a few other programs we'd have to participate in and things we need to do, but I'm confident that we can get there if we try. So I think we're gonna try. Probably the best news of the night, Mr. Chris Richard, who is heading up the new sewer plant design, at least the design portion, and I'm sure he'll help us as we move forward. We opened up the bids for the sewer plant. I've been talking about it, but it's worth mentioning again. This has been since, I believe, over 10 years, certainly back to the Mayor Glenn Brasso days, a plan to bring all of our sewer to one place to be processed. Currently, we have the Manola plant, which is off a thoroughbred, and then we have the Post Road plant. And different areas are routed to each plant. Both of them are certainly outdated, way over capacity, so we need to do something. The work that began 10 plus years ago was rerouting those lines, and so getting the infrastructure on the ground to bring all the sewer to Post Road from everywhere. And then they needed some new lift stations for areas that there wasn't enough gravity flow. So those lift the sewer up, or force mains that push the sewer. But we've been making every year a little bit of infrastructure improvement to get all the sewer to Post Road. Now we're at the point, or close. We have a few lift stations left that need to be either reworked or whatever, but we're at the point where we're ready to put in the new sewer plant. Multiple funding mechanisms. We've got some water sector money. We've got a USDA loan, various other things, bonds. And so initially, some of the estimates were in the 65 million plus range. That's just out of our budget. Before I was on the council, the citizens of Carencro passed a 1% sales tax that's primarily for sewer. It can also be used for police and fire, but it's really a sewer tax. And that is the funding source that is going to be used to pay for this. And so after some much back and forth, and we took it out to bid and got no bids in. So we went back to the drawing board. Long story short, we started at what we thought might be, well, many years ago, I believe that the numbers I had heard were in the 20 to 25 million range pre-COVID, 2016, 2017. Post-COVID, and as things have changed, it ended up in the 60 million plus. We opened bids up recently, and it's right at 42 million. Sure, huge number, major burden on the citizens, but considerably better than what we had hoped for. So we're moving forward to ensure that our partners for all the different funding mechanisms, again, there's USDA, there's water sector of the state, there's multiple people, bonds. So we're getting everybody on board, getting the money together, accepting the bid so we can move forward, hopefully late this year, early next year. It'll take about 2 years to bid. There are some minor details still being worked out in terms of what does that final product look like, meaning once the sewer is treated, what's going to be done with that? Is there something that we can do now to improve that, to make it easier or cheaper to deal with on the back end? So more to come on that. I've already gotten 2 different calls about, are my sewer bills going up? I don't know is the short answer, because we don't have how much are the loans or the bonds and the loans and all the things, and I don't have all the incidentals yet, and nobody does yet on what else is it going to take to get this done. My hope is no. That's why we passed the 2018 sales tax. Um, However, you may recall with water, because some of this is water sector money or state money, we are going to be required to have a feasibility study where they're going to look at how much is coming in, how much is going out, what are your costs, what are your liabilities, all these things, and they may make us go up on sewer. I had a meeting with the mayor this week, and it's a very serious part of the conversation. I can tell you, she doesn't want to raise sewer rates. She doesn't want to pay more, and I don't want to pay more, and I don't want to put any more on you. So we're going to work very, very hard. The council will work together with the mayor to not have to go up on sewer rates, but only time will tell. More to come on that, and more to come on water rates. Some of you are going to be really happy for next year. So we'll see. We're making some changes. We hear you. We're doing everything we can to get those water costs down. The mayor and I have been working on some numbers to try to do what we can, especially for our lower income, our single, our elderly, our low water users. We hear you that your water bills are high, and we're working hard to get that fixed. More to come once we iron out those details. Then we talked about a grant. So there's lots of sewer work has been done, again, in the past 10 plus years, but we still have 3 or 4 sewer stations, lift stations that need to be worked. We're going to apply for a grant to get 2 of those 4 done. I'm hopeful that happens. Then we talked about 109 West St. Peter. For those of you familiar, right across from Carencro Catholic, next to Mr. Darrell's old barbershop. In between Mr. Darrell's barbershop and the next house, there is a right-of-way. It used to be the right-of-way that went to Carencro Middle. Well, that's been not used for many, many, many years, and now the owner of that property is looking to sell it. Because of that right-of-way and because of loans and banks, he can't sell it unless we abandon the right-of-way. We do not need the right-of-way. We should not hold the right-of-ways indefinitely with no good reason, and we don't have a good reason. And to get that property back into commerce, back into the community, the mayor or the homeowner asked the mayor if we would abandon the right of way. We have done this before. I am fully in favor. We have no need for it, and so we'll move forward on that. In To try to keep this as brief as I can, I am not going to list here all of the different things that are coming up. It's almost unbelievable how many events we have coming up. This is what you asked for. When I campaign and when I go about the community, what I hear is, can we have more free events? Can we Hollow Weekend and movies and fireworks and all those things that they're happening? Please, there's a new City of Carencro Facebook page. Follow them. Follow my page. Follow the MacroD page. All of the details are there. Follow the Kiwanis Club. They are very, very involved in many of these. Lots coming up. I'll just tell you in case you're interested, you can email me. MacroD is going on. We got the Hollow Weekend coming on. Great events Saturday and Sunday. We have registration for Carencro Youth Sports happening. If you play basketball or baseball or football, now's the time to look into getting registered. Kiwanis Club Masquerade Ball is this coming up Saturday. Talked about MacroD. The festival's coming up. It's going to be Halloween weekend in the first few days of November. Really, really exciting lineup and events that are happening there. Senior bingo, senior workouts on Friday mornings. There's just so many things happening. So if you're interested in those and you don't know when or where, please let me know. I'll be happy to get you the information. But if you stay tuned on all the social media, you'll get it. Thanks for sticking with me, and I hope you have a great week and a great weekend.